Hey, what's up? In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a tooltip or a pop-up or a drop-down or whatever you want to call it really. I'm going to teach you how to create this. Basically, you hover over it and there's a little pop-up. First thing you want to do, go to the GitHub repo I put in the description, copy this link, go into the terminal, and just say git clone and then paste that link. I already have the repo, so I don't need to do that. After that, use either yarn or npm to install all of the packages, because there are a few very important ones like hero icons, class names, tailwind. So this is actually a Next.js application as well. So there's several important libraries that go into this. I've found that it makes for a quicker video to simply explain the code instead of typing it out and explaining it. So yeah, hopefully this will be quicker for you guys. I'd also like to say that this is just going to give you the architecture for creating a tooltip. So for your specific use case that you want to do, it's most likely going to be different than this. You're going to probably be able to get this working and you'll have this and it'll work just like this, but you'll probably want to do something a little bit different. And with this architecture, you can build on top of it to create what you want to create. But this won't cover every single case. Just wanted to make sure to say that. So first things first, I created a tooltips folder and I first created a tooltip.js file. So I'm also going to start the server. So in this file, you obviously create a component, and this component is going to take two props: children, which I renamed to tooltip target simply to make it more clear what this is, and tooltip content. So what are those two? Well, let me go back to the page. So tooltip content is the content inside. So anything inside of here, it's whatever you want it to be. Whereas tooltip target is the thing here that you target to make the content pop up. So that's kind of the thought behind those props. You can see tooltip content is passed as a child into a tooltip content component, and I'll cover that a little bit more in just a second. And then tooltip target is just inside of a span with a cursor pointer right here. So it's important to know as well that tooltip target can be text, but it can also be DOM elements. So you can see there's an input. Well, this is actually the content. You could see here, this is an entire div as the target. So if you put your cursor anywhere on there, then it makes the content appear. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit through the rest of this. So we have this target ref right here. And the point of this target ref, you can actually see that we pass it in right here on the topmost div of the tooltip. And the reason we need this is because on mouse enter, we need to show the tooltip. And basically the tooltip needs to be placed in the right spot. Well, how do we figure that out? Well, basically, if we look at this, you can see it's centered right in the middle of whatever the target is. Centered right in the middle. And then you also, this is just how I have it set it up. I want it to pop up right below the target. So this content, it all appears right below the target, and it's horizontally centered. So the way we do that is we need to use a target ref, and then we need to get half of the width of this div, and then we need to get the height of that div. And then we can set the state. So we basically set a local state using that. And then, I know this can be a little bit complicated, but it's really not that bad. So then this state is passed down into this tooltip content component. So if we take a look at that, you can see we have top, left, and then that's basically where the style ends up. And this style right here is what determines the positioning of that content, which, if you remember, it's horizontally centered and right below the target. Another important aspect of that is that this component, tooltip content, is absolutely positioned. So that makes it relative to a parent that has relative. So you see relative is used here. It's because that's the parent that this should be positioned relative to. If you don't really understand that, I recommend looking into CSS position and how it works. And then this is also just for horizontally centering. So yeah, this is the tooltip content component. You see the tooltip content we talked about earlier is passed down into here as a child, and then it shows up right here. Now I didn't mention this, but we are using a local state called show. So show, as you see, is local state, and basically on mouse entering this div, we set show to true. On mouse leaving this div, we set true to false. And then, or wait, did I set show to false? And then we pass show down to tooltip component, or tooltip content, which then is what controls whether the content is shown or not shown. So aside from that, that's the basics of how to create these components, but how do we actually use our tooltip components? Well, I have 3 examples. So here is the first example. This is how a tooltip is typically used. So, or let me just show you this first. So usually a tooltip is just like a question mark or an information symbol, and you hover over it and then it shows you some information. So this is the typical example. So for the tooltip content, I passed in explainer. You look up, explainer is a DOM element that looks like this. We pass that in. For the tooltip target, that is defined by the children of this component. So anything inside here, which we just have this one line, it will be the tooltip target. So you see it's a question mark, circle icon. So that's why this is the target. And then you see that DOM element is indeed the content. And it's really just the same thing with these two as well. So you take a look, you see that for this one, the target is also a DOM element, just one word. And then the content this time, instead of it being a DOM element, like up here, it's just text. So let's take a look at that. So, yep, this target is a DOM element, and then the content is just text. And then this one's a little bit more complex. So the content is this, which is a DOM element that has a span and an input inside of it. And then the target is just some random DOM element, which, yeah, it's just one DOM element, and it looks like this. So if your cursor touches anywhere inside of this target, then this pops up, and then you got a complex DOM element inside of the content. And that's really about it. If you have any questions, I'm not as responsive on YouTube, but if you go into the Discord, me or somebody else is always willing to help out. And if this helped you or you found it interesting, then feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.